Hey everybody, I am Coach Kiana
And I'm therapist Danielle.
with the adjustments of the camera.
Yes, because it's called The Real for a reason. All right.
And we are talking about raising, no, not raising. Is it raising adult children? We are
Parenting
still raising,
adult children.
we are still raising adult children. Let's just be honest with that. Like there is
Yes.
just a lot going on when you have adult children in the house. I have definitely demoted a child to visitor.
To visitor.
To visitor
Visitors
because
have conditions.
I said what I said. She was
Okay.
demoted to visitor. And you know what? And it wasn't like, here's the thing. When we are parenting people who are stating that they're grown, you don't have a mindset behind this. Because grown means you have a key to your own front door.
Yes.
Like
Right.
most of the word grown is
Right.
own, right? So if you
Right.
want to be grown, you have to have a key to your own front door. You can't be grown and need me to feed you. You can't be grown and need me to buy you tampons. You can't be grown and need
Yeah.
me to pay your
Yeah.
bills.
Yes.
So when you say you're grown, I'm expecting you
To
to,
be
if you're
grown.
grown at this house, right? Because as my grandfather would say, ain't but one queen here. Anybody else is visited, right?
I heard
So,
that.
so when you have, you know, a mindset when a lot of times, these 18 to 25, it's very common for
Hmm.
those that age range to still be at home. But
Right.
they're home and they're going, I got this. I'm doing this. And it's like, so I can't say anything to you. I have to be uncomfortable in my own house. I have to make sure that, you have access because you're grown and you
Right.
think that because you pay your own cell phone bill, this is an even exchange. I don't need a roommate, right?
Right.
I think that a
Right.
lot of parents need to say this to their kid. I don't need a roommate.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
$500 a month on this $2,100 rent that don't include lights, gas,
Food.
renter's insurance, food, toiletries,
Wi-Fi.
detergent,
Yes.
bleach. Girl, listen, come on with the Wi-Fi that you need all the time. You need that more than you need the
What's
food.
the password? But yes, yes,
And I'm
yes.
petty. I'm team. I am the mayor. Listen, my girl Jennifer Jasper, I can't wait to get one of her petty teas because I am the mayor of Pettyville. Call me Petty Boo, honey. I am the. Listen, don't play with me. I will unscrew all these light bulbs. Keep it up. I bet you be pouting in the dark. I bet you that. Listen. Anyway, see, this is why my advice is not followed with a license behind my name. See,
Right,
I'm a
right,
life coach. I'm not a therapist. So I just want to go on and say
right,
that.
right. But you hit on some good points in the sense that there's that level of I got it. I'm an adult, so I know what I'm doing, or I should have privy to, even though that privy to is not theirs. The privy to is the parents, and just that goes back to communication. That goes back to the communication of the parent to the adult child
Right.
as one thing, because there's various things. There's a communication of what the expectation is of
I'm
you
writing
under
notes,
my roof.
right?
Under my roof. And granted, don't get me wrong, there are some parents who have had this talk with their adult children. However, your kid is going to say yes because they're trying to get in the house. Okay, that we all can agree with that.
Right.
But when those stipulations, when those conditions, when those whatever word you want to give it are not adhered to as the parent, did you follow through with what you said you were going to do?
And
Does
that's
that mean
hard.
and it doesn't mean that it's easy. The same way that it's hard to tell your 10-year-old no for one and whatever that they ask for, you honestly really, you stop it.
I was
Yeah.
just
Tell
if you're not
text.
watching this and you listen to the audio, I was just shaking my head. It ain't hard for me to say no at all.
But there are moments in parenting. Let me rephrase that. But there are moments in parenting when you tell your child no for whatever reason, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good, but you have to remind yourself the lesson and as to why you said no.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing with parenting an adult child, you have to follow through.
Yeah.
If they know that you all fluff and you kind of gonna talk and nag for 15, 20 minutes or even half a day, I would say that's worth it to still have a roof over my head to listen to this nagging for a half a day, 20 minutes, or whatever the case may be, so that clear communication on what their expectations are, what your expectations are of your adult child needs to happen.
And that budget reality. So I'm gonna say this because I was taking notes.
Yes, if he is quiet, she's taking notes.
When you communicating to me, watch your tone. Say it with your chest if you want to, and it's gonna get caved in. Okay, you're gonna lose all the air in it if you say it with your chest. Watch your tone so you don't be whistling dicks. Okay.
And that's a good point as well. You got all these good points because that goes aligned with their quote unquote grown. And there are times, and don't get me wrong, there may be several times where you need to have that come to Jesus talk with them, because it's like, who are you talking? Who did you think you was talking to? Why did you even think that tone or that air pressure?
Come back, Danielle. You splitting verbs and stuff. I saw it in your facial expression. That was a memory right there.
All right. But there are going to be multiple times where you're going to have a variation of that reminder talk. But that initial conversation that's very clear. It ain't vague. It's very clear. It's like, if you're going to be out and about, you're going to be doing your thing, you need to be in this door at 1 a.m.
Right.
And so you need to be very, very clear with that, because you cannot say, we get home at a decent time. You cannot say, oh,
decent means something different.
Exactly. They're going to interpret it as something different. Oh, you make sure you tidy up. That's your child, first of all, so you know your child, okay? So they tidy versus our tidy is totally different things. So Absolutely. Be clear, be very specific and clear with your adult child of what you expect of them by way of being under your roof.
Right. And so there's a lot of different layers, right? So I think that when we are having these conversations, we are still talking to someone else who is a person, and
yes,
by all intents and purposes, I think I said that right, they are an adult, right? Which is very different from grown to me, right? And so being respectful in our communication, right? The same way you would if your boss was 18 and you are in your late 40s, mid 40s, whatever, you would still say it in a respectful tone. I think our children deserve that. That being said, why you make that face?
I'm holding my tongue. Go ahead. Let it.
Okay.
But that being said, that's the however comma. Go ahead.
That being said, I think that a lot of times when I'm working with kids, I always ask them, first of all, how old are you? If you're 18, how many of y'all can't wait to leave your parents' house, right? Anywhere between 15 and 23, they can't wait. Their hands flying up. Right. However, when I start going over the budget, and I go over the budget, when I think a lot of parents, we have a tendency to say, okay, well, they have they have their phone bill. That's not the budget, right? Because my when I work with them, I'm saying, find a studio apartment in your zip code and tell me how much it is.
Yeah.
Right? How much is the rent? And then go look up renter's insurance. How much is water and sewer? Because every place does not cover that. How much is the
Right.
lights for a studio apartment? How much is gas for a studio apartment? How much is that during the peak months like winter,
Mm-hmm.
right? What is the cost of internet? What's the cost of the subscriptions that you currently have? Don't go
Right.
balling on the budget on your money, but you just balling out on mine.
Right.
What
Right.
what is the subscription? How much is the car note or how much is your bus pass? Right? Because if you
Yes.
using my car the whole time, I'm gonna need you to find out how much is your car note. How
Mm-hmm.
much is the gasoline? How much is the car insurance for somebody 16 to 25?
Right.
Because that
Yes.
number goes
Yes.
up. How much is
Right.
registration? How much do you eat in groceries? And then how much do you eat in food
Out.
that is non-essential? Meaning after you done went grocery shopping on your way home, you stop at Del Taco, right? Like
Right.
I need to know that information. You got a gym membership? Do you have a pet? How much is pet insurance? How much is pet food? How much is
Right.
entertainment? How much is life insurance? How much is medical, vision, dental? Do you have legal assistance? Like prepaid, or I don't think it's called prepaid. I think it's Legal Shield now. Do you have any of that?
Right.
Do you have credit card? How much is the car maintenance? Because eventually you're gonna have to get a tune-up. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have to get an oil change. You're gonna have to replace a tire. So when you add all that up, how much do you really need to be making to be self-sufficient? And once
Yeah.
you get that number, you know how much you need to make a year. Let's go ahead and
Right.
subtract that 33% taxes out.
Right.
So now your take-home pay is, so now you got to rework these numbers,
Right.
right? So once you do
Right.
all of that, how
Right.
much is your and y'all can see this video on my YouTube channel, Coach Kiana Shaw. So just go put in Coach Kiana Shaw and budgeting. But then um how much do you have to make, just for the month, for the year?
Mm-hmm.
Like you got
To
to
cover.
break that down. And then
Yes.
once they get those figures, I go, now how many of y'all can actually go pay that today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nobody raises their hand
Plan.
because they realize, oh man, I can't do this on $15 an hour. Not in
Right.
California.
Exactly. Yes.
Not in
Yes.
California. You can't do that on $15 an hour. So
Yes.
how about you just shut up and do the dishes? How about you just make it out to curfew? Listen.
Yes. So,
I'm
but
not
that
going back to my mama house unless
conversation.
I absolutely have to. But I'm gonna tell you now, if I get to go back, I'm gonna
She
wash
said if
the
I
dishes.
get, yeah, just wash the dishes, right?
I think me
But
not being there is mutual, but
but right, the budgeting finances needs to be broken down in that way. No, like
right,
it's okay, I got it, it's okay. No, how are they going to learn? And if you got it then and you're going to eventually get it later, then the eventual I got it, it adds up, and then that's you care for them again, as
right.
if they are not a quote unquote adult. So that conversation should also include budgeting, but the budgeting conversation should not be at 18.
Right.
It should not be at 18. It
As
should be
soon as
at
they
5
hit
and 6,
high school.
7 and 8. Girl, it was
But
like
but in high school, they should be doing the budget.
doing the budget, yes, but having the awareness of money, the awareness of saving. Like if you got money for your birthday, it ain't to splurge all of it. No, you learn to how to do those breakdowns, but that's by a parent or someone who knows how to manage money, because sometimes it's not always the parent. I know for
Right.
me, I had to learn a lot in regards to budgeting, because my mom was a person, like she was like, you're in school, you're doing your thing, don't worry about nothing, which was a great deal. Don't get me wrong. However, when I became a grown adult, there were a lot of things that I did not know about budgeting as far as the implementation,
Right.
as far as the realistic breakdown of life and living and how much that cost and how I needed to be divvied. So that conversation within this varying dynamics needs to happen ASAP.
Absolutely. And have they been prepared? Like, I think so often we're like, as soon as you turn 18, but you haven't prepared your child to be put out the house. Like, first of all, if you actually prepared them, you probably wouldn't want to put them out. Let's just, oh, we're not allowed to say that. Okay, I'll move on. So, because I'm not here to hurt feelings, I'm just here to educate, right? If we
Sometimes the truth
prepared
hurts,
them,
and it's all
right?
right.
if we prepared them, then we probably wouldn't want to put them out because they would have a clear understanding and they would act accordingly, right? But then we have the exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
Have you taught them how to fill out an application for a job? Did you even require that they got a job in high school? Did they get to come home and watch TV, play video games, and do, bare minimum and study? If you're getting D's, you can get a job because you clearly ain't studying. But that's my parenting.
Right. That's not funny that a child is getting D's. But no, it's like obviously your focus is somewhere else besides the studies.
Which means that you could go ahead and get you a job. Right?
Yes,
unless you're going to pick up your study. Now, if you're struggling because you have a learning disability or anything like that, that's totally different. Learning challenges, I think, is the
exactly.
Time.
Yes.
Thank you for that
correct.
Thank you. I'm learning. But when we are doing that, when we have a particular situation that's different from our children just not doing it and us not enforcing that they do what it takes to become productive citizens who make integrity-based decisions. We have to do that work. We can't just say, oh, well, get out when you turn 18. You haven't taught them how to fill out an application for a job or an apartment. You haven't taught them how to call and make phone calls to get their lights and stuff turned on. I made my 9-year-old redo my lease. Go ahead and fill that out. And don't get it wrong. Let's see. Now, granted, I have extra copies, because I'm not a complete crazy woman.
Well, I know this, I know you, but she got extra copies. So anyways, it ain't the original. She's all right. They still got a place to stay. So
right. We still living here. But as she's doing it, I'm like, okay, so read it first, right? Now, do I expect my 9-year-old to read the entire lease? No, but I expect her to read what she's going to fill in, right? And then when she's like, I want a dog, then I could be like, well, Section 6A says that.
Right.
They don't allow no dogs. She's like, but other people have dogs. And I'm like, those are called emotional support dogs. Like now I can break it down. So now she understands every place does not accept animals.
Pets. Yes.
Right. And if you do, there's a fee for it. And if you do that, girl.
But they come for anyways.
Right. They deposit and they monthly. Okay.
Monthly. Right. Don't forget the monthly.
And you can't just say he ran away because listen. All of a sudden, maintenance be talking about your alarms was going off and your smoke alarm. Now you got to figure out some stuff. But anyway, when that happens, you have to be open and honest with them. You have to be able to say, okay, this is what it is. But if we have not prepared them, why are we putting them out?
Yes.
And I still stand on, if we did prepare them, we wouldn't want to put them out because they would have an awareness, and that awareness would make sure it would coincide with them acting accordingly and making sure that they were doing what they were asked to do, and making sure that they were being respectful, that they are making curfew. All of that comes with preparing them.
Right. And something that I wanted to say, we're not saying that all parents don't prepare their children. Not at all.
Absolutely not.
But some people hear what they hear. Okay, so I'm just confirming that is not what we said.
You so sweet, because I'm like, we are not responsible for what you made up in your head. But okay.
And the line of the work that I work in is just my default. However, there are times where there are parents who have prepared their children who are now adults, and they're choosing to do the latter. In that instance, I say, do what you need to do because you've done all that you can do in the capacity that you can do. And you know for yourself that you've explained, that you've modeled, that you've guided your child, now an adult, to be able to take care of themselves. Now is their choice to actually use and implement the information and skills, but you've done what you need to do. And if your choice is for you by way of the rules of your house is that they need to go, then they need to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think that, you don't have to be a hostage in your house just because your child is an adult. Like I'm not walking on eggshells. I'm not,
And you should not. No one should. That's your home. That is your space.
And again, you're not a roommate. You're a
They
dependent
cannot a
adult.
roommate. Yes,
Roommates pay half the bills.
they
Roommates
do.
pay
They
half
pay
the
half
rent.
of everything. What are you talking about?
Right.
All of it. The air,
Roommates get
the
their
bed,
own
the floor,
food.
all of
Roommates make sure they have their own soap. Like so when you're telling me how grown you are over this $500 you pay, listen, I'm gonna let the $500
it.
go.
Right. Do we need a debrief after this on this $500?
Listen, maybe, but I don't need a roommate, right? I got me and Kayla.
Right.
So if you're gonna be here, if you're going to move in, if you're going to be, and that's not just for kids, that's for siblings, that's for parents who move in.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
a whole other Oprah
That I
show.
will say that's not the real on parenting. We
All
can
right.
talk about
So,
it. However, it ain't the real on parenting. So
all right. So, what are the boundaries, Danielle? Because I like all jokes aside, my boundary line is very thin,
okay.
right? And
Okay.
so I just want you to tell us, like, what are those clear boundaries that we have to establish? How do we do
Well,
it?
I would say each person's boundaries is specific to them as a person, but you have to be realistic. So
Okay.
let's say for your adult child, you gave them, and you guys have the agreement. You want to give it the curfew. You guys have the agreement that they will be in the house no later than 2:33 a.m. That's
For
still
those
late,
of
but
us
still.
who for those of us who are listening and we don't understand, it's still a curfew. Let's just go and put that out there.
You choose the wording that you like, but it's the curfew, but the agreement, because that's when you make them feel like they're an adult and they're grown. You guys are
Right.
agreeing, and more so you telling, but however they're agreeing. So
Right.
let's say the curfew is 2:30, excuse me, 3 o'clock in the morning. However, every time that they're going out, or more times than not, when they come back, it's after that 3:30 mark, whatever time I say, because that's where we go about forget stuff. Me and numbers don't get along. So let's just make it 3:30 for right now, because that's what I'm saying. So 3:30, they're coming in after that agreed upon time.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, but at the same time, I can't assume. But there's that check-in conversation, like, hey, you came home, you missed the time frame that we agreed upon. So you checking in with your adult child, just letting them know, because one, they think they be sneaking in, but as an adult, we know all the sounds of our home. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, so we know that they missed the mark. So having that conversation, which was what I said, is that verbal warning to let them know, hey, I know you came in late. Right. And the agreed upon time was this. You came in after this. Next time, get in on time. So I would say, as a parent, that conversation should happen no more than 2 times. Wow. One is the verbal, this is where Mama Don, that's my mama, comes into place, because it's like you understood the agreement. Mm-hmm. You agreed to what was expected of you in this agreement. Now you're not complying. So in the real world, when you don't comply, you some people, you don't even get a first reminder or conversation. You just put out.
Just get demoted to visitor.
So there is that conversation. One, you got your verbal warning. If there is a second time, it's like, okay, if this happens again, then we're going to have another conversation on if you're going to be able to live here and stay here. Right. With the previous conversation that we had upon you just living here in general. So, absolutely. But I would say, if you have where your child typically gets home, on time or within that range, there's a slip up every 6 months, whatever, because sometimes there's more specific patterns, then okay, not ideal, but okay. So I can't say specifically do this and have this specific boundaries, but certain things that should be spoke about and agreed upon is
absolutely
time frames, curfews, whatever you want to call it, is the finances. And it also, who's coming to this house? Because in my house, nobody. Right. Nobody's coming to my house. So who is okay or not okay to be in my house? And do those people got a time to be out? Are they just chilling? Because this house is not the it house. The homies ain't coming up over here. So have that conversation. And granted, that may be your house. Your house may be the it house, and you may be okay with that. but you have to be realistic with yourself on what you're okay with and what you're not okay with, and having a conversation from that perspective.
And here's the thing, because I like my house being the it house. Like,
well, then go
as
over to Kiana's house.
I like it from the perspective of I want to know what's going on. I want to know who you're with. I need the identity. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need to be able to say, okay, she was with this person and this. Like, I want them, because I want them to have a safe space. Having a safe space does not mean that I want my space violated.
Right? Yeah.
So when you have friends coming over, they got a curfew too. Everybody got to be, because the door locks at this time. Now, because I got a deadbolt and a latch, I lock it from the inside. So if you can't wake me, listen, my mother was very clear. Wherever you are, stay there. Find you a safe space. Always, if you ever think you might miss curfew, make sure you got enough money to get to a Hilton. Don't be at no Snooty Fox, no Motel 6, nothing. Get you at least a Hilton.
She did say the Snooty Fox.
Listen, Miss Pam did not play, because you're not coming back with bed bugs. That's what you're not going to do. Okay.
And if you know, you know. But anyways, kind of has a bit. But anyways, telling on myself. I don't know if anybody else caught that, but I caught it. All right. Go ahead and finish.
It better not be no memory at the Snooty Fox. Time. You know, if you feel like you're gonna, it's too many ways to communicate. Now you can schedule a text out. If you got a 1 o'clock, a 1 a.m., you can schedule a text at 12:30. Mom, I'm running a little bit late.
Yes.
Right? You can schedule that before you even leave the house. Like, don't play with me about this schedule. You know. So, and you also know you can set alarms on your phone. It ain't like you dancing and you don't feel this vibrating and all that. You feel it when your friends is calling you. You feel the vibration. And the other time I've seen you wake up out of a deep sleep. Don't play with me. Communicate. And I don't even allow, like, my nieces, my daughter, I don't even allow all the texting. Pick up the phone and communicate. Texting is not a way to communicate. It's a way not to, right? So pick up your phone. But there's too many ways for you to let me know what's going on without missing curfew. Don't have me wake up at 3:30 and you still not here. And now I'm calling and I'm trying to figure out, are you on the side of the road? Because you know, the what do they say? Life is 90% what 10% what happened, 90% of your thoughts around it, right? So now you went, I done gone from you not home at on curfew and it's 3:30 in the morning to what if something happened, to something better had happened. You better be on the side of the road. It's 4 o'clock. You better be on the side of that doggone road, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's don't send me through all these emotions, because I'm going Claire Huxtable and you are Vanessa with the wretched. Okay.
Right. Right. Right.
I think I just dated myself when I.
All true.
And now you got me enraged, and now I gotta figure out, like, how I'm gonna handle you. Don't do that to me. Don't have me worried because you've grown.
Right.
Because grown people communicate. If you when you're grown and married, you still have to communicate. You think that you don't have to say anything because you've grown? You're still living with someone. You're still, cohabitating. You're still, like, whatever the case may be, you need to communicate.
Right. Yeah.
Even as an adult woman, when I'm going somewhere and I don't necessarily want people to know, like, I'm cutting the corner, I'm grown, I'm doing what I still hit
only
my
certain
cousins
people
up.
know what that means, but yes.
Right. I still hit my cousins up, like, hey, just so you know, like, this is where I'm gonna be. I'm gonna text you at this time. I still call my uncle. Hey, I just want you to know I'm going over here. Like, if you don't hear from me at this time, be on the way. Right? There are things in place because people come up missing. Like, if we could just get to the seriousness of it.
I mean, I don't want to say that's a new thing, but unfortunately, that has increased as far as people getting snatched. Now they don't care what size, what color, what age, and not to say that, okay, I felt more safe because they wasn't looking for an adult woman, for with a smaller frame, you know what I mean? But
because I used to think I was safe because I ate a lot of cake, but sorry, I'm just saying. My plus size women know we ain't that easy to be dragged to a car. Okay,
These days, everybody's game. Everybody is game. No matter what, no matter gender, everybody is game. So that level of concern and worry is really real, and especially for Blacks. And that's a whole nother conversation, but
because nobody comes looking for us. Yeah.
Right. So yes, communication. You're right. You're right. You're right.
If absolutely necessary. You cannot get away with not communicating. And the mindset of I'm grown, right? We have to let our adult children know that. I mean, listen, I don't even know how old I was when I got divorced. But when I got divorced and I moved back to my mom's house, I still had a curfew. Right. When I fell on hard times and I moved into my aunt's house, I still had a curfew. There was still expectations of me to contribute. I know I had work. I know I had a kid. I know I had schooling. I still was expected to contribute. You don't get to not be a part of the household responsibilities just because you are an adult. Like, if anything, we expect more out of you.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I would say for the adults who are listening, or you may know someone who's your friend or your family member who needs to listen, go ahead and shoot them this link, okay? Or direct them the link, the URL, whatever. But let them listen, because we all know somebody, okay? We actually know a handful, two hands of people who probably needed to listen to this episode. Sharing is caring.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if you're looking for the URLs, you can find it. Go to our Instagram at The Real On Parenting. You can email us your thoughts on the show. You can email us your questions. If you have additional questions, we'll address it live on another show. And that is therealonparenting@gmail.com. Everywhere we are, we're The Real On Parenting. Yes. So, like, whatever the handle is, like, go for it. The Real On Parenting at whatever situation it is.
Right.
As I'm still learning how to work Instagram.
Right. As we learn in the moment, but that's okay, because we're making it work, because that's what we do.
Right. But I am Coach Kiana.
And I'm therapist Danielle.
And we are The Real On Parenting. Thank you so much for joining us today. You